Episode 4 of 19. Meaning is a lie. So what? How to build a sacred life when the universe doesn't care. Meaning isn't something you find. It's what you refused to stop treating as sacred, even after you realize it's all made up. This episode isn't comfort. It's a confrontation. If you've outgrown the idea that everything happens for a reason, but still crave something sacred, this one's for you. Not to fix the emptiness, to name it, and then ask what you're going to do now. You've broken up with religion. You've questioned every belief system. You've stopped pretending your pain has some divine lesson attached to it. But now, you're drifting. You're awake, but unanchored. And no amount of universe has your back energy hits anymore. Because here's the real burn. The universe doesn't owe you meaning. Life isn't a story. Your pain isn't cosmic homework. Meaning is a lie we inherited, but that doesn't mean it's useless. We don't need to find meaning. We need to build sanctity. Sacredness isn't something you inherit. It's what you refuse to stop treating as sacred even when no one else agrees. So, if you're done looking for God, maybe it's time to pick up a match and become the fire. Section 1. Where the search for meaning starts. The search for meaning? It starts early. Before you had language for it. Before you could even question it. The idea was seeded. That life has a plan. That there's a reason for your pain. That being good earns reward. And being bad earns punishment. You were handed a blueprint. Not a real one, mind you, but an emotional blueprint. A system of incentives, laced in morality. Be kind and the world will be kind to you. Work hard and life will reward you. Suffer well and you'll be better for it. You were taught that meaning is baked in, like gravity, like time, like truth. But meaning isn't gravity. It's performance art, a collective agreement. And the moment you stop agreeing, the silence rushes in. You've heard the phrases, "This is happening for me, not to me." Everything is a lesson. The universe has a plan. It's comforting until it isn't. Until the plan feels rigged. Until the lessons just feel cruel. Until you realize the universe isn't a teacher, it's just math and physics. And still, people cling. Because in the absence of meaning, chaos rushes in like a flood. And we humans are not wired for chaos. We're wired to make it all make sense. Even if the sense is a lie. So, culture gives you purpose slogans, motivational quotes wrapped in moral math, like, live your truth, find your way, follow your passion. And behind all of it, the same promise. If you find the right meaning, you'll finally feel at peace. But what if that's just another con? What if peace doesn't come from finding meaning at all, but from stopping the search? Section 2. The collapse, when meaning stops working. This is the part no one talks about. The hangover, the gut punch, the unraveling. When your meaning system collapses, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like vertigo. You leave the religion, or the ideology, or the wellness cult that promised to be different. You trade devotion for doubt, and the clarity feels good for about 5 minutes. Then comes the nausea. You look around and realize you've dismantled the scaffolding that held your identity in place. Now what? You're awake, but unmoored. Clear, but rootless. You can see the illusion now, but the realness hasn't landed yet. You thought leaving the structure would feel like expansion, but instead, it feels like floating in space. No anchor, no map, no voice from the sky saying, "Good job, now here's your next truth." And worst of all, you lost the story and the reason to keep telling it. Meaning used to stitch your pain into a plotline. Now it just sits there, raw, disconnected. No arc, no takeaway, just life. And you're still here, still breathing, still trying to decide if that's brave or just a habit. This isn't nihilism. It's what comes after nihilism. It's not despair, it's disorientation. But if you can hold still long enough, that disorientation, it starts to feel like possibility. Section 3. What you're left with. The emptiness that's not a problem. There's a moment after the belief dies, after the story falls apart, after the last thread of "it all meant something" dissolves, where you just sit. Not in despair, not in peace, just in space. This is where most people panic. They scramble for a new story, a new truth, a new belief system to plug the leak. But here's the radical truth. That emptiness, it's not a wound, it's not a failure, it's not a problem to solve. It's just a blank page. And your ego hates it. See, the ego is addicted to certainty. The ego wants a name for everything. The ego wants to know who's right, who's wrong, what's next, and why it all matters. So when you stop playing that game, the ego throws a tantrum. Because meaningless isn't a threat to your soul, it's a threat to your narrative. But silence? Silence is sacred. Not the performative kind, not the "I'm so healed I don't even post anymore" silence. The real kind. The one where no one is watching, no one is applauding, and you don't need them to. This is the field where sovereignty begins. Not in finding the answer, but in realizing you get to decide what the question is now. Section 4. Constructed sacredness versus inherited meaning. Here's where the shift happens. You stop finding meaning and you start building sanctity. Not because it was revealed, not because someone blessed it, but because you chose it. What you build is stronger than what you're handed, because it has your fingerprints on it, because it cost you clarity to make it. Sacredness isn't granted, it's declared. You get to choose your rituals. You get to choose what matters. It could be a cup of coffee at dawn, a silent walk without headphones, a glance exchanged with someone who really sees you. Those don't need a divine origin story. They don't need to be part of a bigger plan. They're sacred because you say they are. This is where the lie of inherited meaning dies. You don't need tradition to bless your experience. You don't need cosmic confirmation to take your life seriously. You don't have to wait for the universe to whisper, because it's your job now. to decide what matters, to treat it like it matters, and to keep treating it like it matters even when no one else agrees. That's sanctity. Not the presence of gods, but the refusal to stop living like it's, quote, holy, end quote, anyway. Section 5. What living without meaning can look like. So what does it look like to live in a world where nothing means anything and still care? Well, it looks like this. You do it anyway. You love anyway. You write anyway. You show up anyway. Not because it'll be remembered, not because it was divinely ordained, not because the stars aligned in your favor, but because you chose to. Because reverence isn't reactive, it's generative. You don't wait for life to feel meaningful. You infuse meaning into the living. You stop trying to find the sacred and start acting like things are sacred. Because they are. Not in some cosmic contract kind of way, but in a fire you lit yourself kind of way. The kiss still matters. The silence still counts. The laughter still echoes. Even if the universe is indifferent. Even if it's all made up. Even if it ends tomorrow. You live like it's holy because you said so. Section 6. So what? This isn't dismissive. It's liberation. Here's where it all lands. You say, if meaning isn't real, so what? And that's not apathy. That's actually freedom. Does that saying make sunsets less sacred? Does that saying make kindness less beautiful? Does that saying make your breath, your tears, your quiet acts of bravery somehow less important? Or does it finally mean you get to stop chasing a defined assignment and start living as if everything matters because you chose it to? So what isn't surrender, it's sovereignty. So what is what happens when you stop outsourcing your sense of the sacred to books, teachers, and invisible gods, and start lighting the match yourself. You don't need meaning to live a sacred life. You need fire. And if no one hands you the flame, be the one who burns. Because fire doesn't ask permission to matter. And sacred isn't found, it's forged. And if no one gets that with you, especially the ones who could have built a real life with you but chose comfort over depth, let them. Let them miss it. Let them explain it away. Let them tell themselves stories to patch the hole where your fire used to be. You do not owe them your heat. They had a match. They just never struck it.